This week on Angler West TV, we're in Western Russia for a pike fishing tournament. And then it's up to Finland for some more pike fishing while we search for the origins of modern sport fishing. I'm Justin Wolf, and this is Angler West Television.
Wow, he's a nice fish.
Sport fishing is embedded in American culture and history, much like other truly American pastimes such as baseball. However, many scholars and intellectual types will argue that American history really doesn't exist on its own, but is really just a branch of European history. The status of American history might not be that important to many anglers, but one thing is certain, that in America, every time we execute a plan to catch a fish and we are successful, we owe that success to what the history of sport fishing has taught us. And if we want to look back to find the origins of modern sport fishing, we must cross the Atlantic. Paijanne Lake in western Russia, near the Gulf of Finland, isn't exactly the birthplace of modern sport fishing, but today it is the site of the second annual Russian Fishing Endurance Pike Tournament created by Andrei Velikonov, a well-known Russian outdoor rider. Due to the remoteness of most Russian waters, serious anglers generally employ inflatable boats with small outboards, which allows them to fish otherwise inaccessible waters. Yamaran, a top brand in Russia and Europe, provided the tournament's boats, which are surprisingly fast and stable. In this tournament, which is the only one of its kind in Russia, three-man teams take turns fishing for 3 hours along with an independent observer, who judges certain aspects of the competition. One member will go out twice, making it a 12-hour tournament. Trolling, casting, or fly fishing is allowed, and this year there were 5 fly fishing teams, including one all-ladies team. Over 40 teams from throughout the former Soviet Union, Finland, Japan, and the U.S. have come to Paijanne Lake, which this year proved to be very stingy for both numbers of fish and size, as Team USA, represented this year by myself, Bob Loomis, and Steve Lynch of Procure, are finding out. Bob went out for the first 3-hour leg and has come back empty.
Very well.
Steve Lynch returned from his 3 hours of fishing with the big fish of the day for Team USA.
Well, I got 2. What about this big?
Oh, did you?
Oh, we had to let it go. The catch of the day, baby. Woohoo!
My 3 hours on the water produced just this fish that I hooked on a grub smothered in Procure garlic super gel.
Confidence bait.
For our last leg, Bob went out again, but only to face even a tougher bite late in the afternoon. Today, most teams struggled to catch fish at a time when the water temperatures were still too warm to trigger a good fall bite. And limits were definitely a challenge, but in sport fishing, isn't the challenge part of the point? While catching fish is important in any tournament anywhere in the world, I think that this tournament is more about the ability to gather together as friends, to enjoy a time that's focused solely on the pursuit of sport fish for fun, which is actually an indication of relatively good times that transcend the elements of this region's history that until recently made sport fishing for many not practical or possible. As the winners of this tournament celebrate their success, it may mean more than just having a good day on the water. It's a reflection of their place in history. After all, it could very well be the fathers or grandfathers of these fishermen buried outside this celebration, soldiers who died in early 20th century battles between the Russians and Finns for control of this land. So this former battleground may represent a modern development of sport fishing, but if we are to look towards its origins, we must travel north to Finland. This episode of Angler West TV is brought to you in part by Van Warmer Resorts, Procure Bait Sense, P-Line, and Max High Definition Sunglasses. Welcome back to Paijanne Lake in western Russia. I'm Justin Wolf. With the tournament over, it's time to pack up the Yamaran boats and prepare for our adventure to Finland. In this part of the world, the Yamaran boat is commonly used by serious anglers in waters throughout the region, including the Gulf of Finland. In fact, the tournament's creator, Andrei Velikanov, and his friend Andrei Spirin once made the over 600-mile round-trip journey in the Gulf of Finland between St. Petersburg and Helsinki, Finland, catching fish along the way.
Don't understand me wrong, but this is not the firewood. This is the inflatable collapsible boats. And the reason why it's so popular in Europe and in the former Soviet Union, because there is very little mariners, the cars are small, and you could very easily put down the 15-foot boat and put it in the trunk of your car, bring it back to your house, to your apartment, and store it there. So it's, you know, it's light, it's comfortable, and it could be in use for 10 years.
It's been a fun couple of days at Paijanne Lake, but now we'll head to Finland and maybe a step closer to the early days of sport fishing.
Okay, let's go to Finland now.
Driving me is Andrei's friend, Andrei Spirin, an expert Russian outdoorsman who's joined Andrei on many of his expeditions. The drive from Paijanne Lake to our destination in Finland is a one-day journey through seemingly endless forest and small farms and villages. And if you take the time to stop and visit, you'll be sure to meet some interesting and friendly people. A few miles later, Andrei led us off the main highway onto one of the region's lesser developed roads, which led to the first reaches of the Baltic's Gulf of Finland, and a very important historical spot for the Finnish people.
Here lies, as of April 9th, 1557, Mikael Argiokola, the father of Finnish literature.
Andrei, who's traveling with his family, wanted to stop and show us not only the Baltic Sea, but also a famous gravesite on its shore. So we're on the shore of the Gulf of Finland with a Russian family visiting a nearly 500-year-old Finnish gravesite of someone who very well could have met Christopher Columbus. At the very least, I'm reminded of how short our American history really is. And it's clear that as far as sport fishing goes, while many Americans such as Cotton Cordell, Homer Circle, and Roland Martin hold a significant place in the history of sport fishing, we probably have to look to this part of the old world to find at least a piece of sport fishing's origins. We're at Paijanne Lake, about 50 miles north of Helsinki, Finland. While Andrei and Andrei are getting the inflatable ready to take out in search of pike, we're being met by Hannu and Kalevi Kangas, who produce the Nils Master brand of lures. Hannu and Kalevi have fished this lake for over 60 years, all the while developing and producing over 20 million lures used by anglers in over 30 countries. Joining us is Hannu's daughter Hannele, who helps run the company.
Hello, my name is Hannele Kangas, and this is my father, Hannu Kangas. He is Nils Master, owner of Nils Master, and we're going to fishing here in Paijanne Lake. This color is very good here in Paijanne Lake, because this Paijanne is very dark water, but very clean, and many people in Helsinki drinking this water too, and that's why this color is very good.
Paijanne Lake is part of a vast system of waterways created during the recession of the last ice age. For thousands of years, the ancestors of the Finns have developed the use of nets, traps, and rod and reel techniques to harvest the pike as a food staple, drying the meat to last throughout the winter, even using the skin as leather to make bags and other needed items. Despite having some of the best handmade lures in the world, maybe today it's a good thing that we're not relying on the pike for survival, as so far this morning none of the three boats have found success. But before long, just as we were getting hungry for lunch, we could see that Kalevi has hooked up. The right species, but smaller than expected. Anyway, it will make a nice fish for dinner. But right now, it's time to head to a beautiful wooded island for a campfire shore lunch. Within minutes, the Kangas brothers had a fire started, were boiling water for hot tea the old-fashioned way, and cooking the best hot dogs I've ever had. Unlike the people who built fires on these shores centuries ago, today's efforts are not about survival, but about sport fishing for fun with friends. Who knows, maybe the famous lure maker Lauri Rapala, who is often cited as one of the pioneers of modern sport fishing, may have cooked on an open fire on this very island while he struggled to feed his family as a commercial fisherman. Legend has it that in 1936, Rapala carved his first lure upon discovering that big fish feed on wounded minnows. Actually, Rapala's first lures were copies of hand-carved tree bark clubs given to him by Toivo Paijanne, a hermit who lived on an island in Lake Paijanne. One day, Paijanne crossed paths with Rapala as they trolled their rowboats between fish traps, and he gave Rapala a lure that swam like a wounded minnow. After having good success with this lure, Rapala and his family began carving and eventually marketing what became known as the Rapala lure. Actually, several lure companies started up in the Paijanne Lake region in the years following World War II, like Nils Master, who actually, among many European anglers, has a reputation of producing superior lures. So how did Rapala lures become so popular? Near Lake Paijanne is a sport fishing museum that may hold the answer. Inside, you'll find a complete history starting with these Stone Age sinkers progressing to modern times. Nils Master has a significant display which includes Finland's record pike that was caught on a Nils Master lure. Rapala also has a large display, and you'll be sure to notice Marilyn Monroe. By the late 1950s, Rapala had only managed to sell a handful of lures in America, but one of these early customers happened to be the editor of Life magazine, who had heard the stories about the fantastic catches in Finland. The editor sent a reporter to Finland to do a story which happened to be printed in the 1962 edition featuring the death of Marilyn Monroe. A tremendously read edition around the world and a huge marketing breakthrough for Rapala. You might say, at least in part, Rapala just got lucky. Today's episode of Angler West TV is brought to you in part by Shasta Tackle Company, Dove Island Lodge, Coldwell Banker CNC Properties, and Max Lure. Coleslaw, pickles, and pike. We're definitely in the Baltics. Paijanne Lake has provided to us a nice meal, and Andre is preparing to cook the pike over an open fire. Similar, I suppose, to the way pike has been cooked in this region since prehistoric times, minus the aluminum foil and ketchup. Tonight we enjoy our catch in an area that's at least one of the origins of modern sport fishing. And tomorrow, Hanu, Kalevi, and Hanale have invited us to fish with them in the Gulf of Finland itself.
Okay, it looks like we are ready. Let's cut this bastard.
Which they believe is more productive this time of year than Paijanne Lake. The next morning, we made the 2-hour drive south to the Gulf of Finland near Kotka, an area famous for its pike fishing. While the Gulf is part of the Baltic Sea, its water is low salinity brackish water in which pike thrive, especially in its eastern end that's flushed with fresh water from the River Neva. The Kangas brothers have arranged for a professional guide, Mika Vitanen, through the Fishing Lords Guide Company, while Andre and Andre are setting up the Yamaran as they believe the inflatable gives them better control and better access to fish holding areas than a guide boat. The Kangas brothers have their pockets full of confidence lures and are optimistic about today's chances. This part of the Gulf of Finland feels like a large lake full of countless islands and other structure that makes prime predatory fish habitat. So of course, a key to finding the pike is finding their food. A pike even this size has dangerously sharp teeth and requires special handling. And while it's legal and common to keep a few fish for dinner, the Finnish anglers are typically conservation-oriented and encourage catch and release. During the autumn season, the main forage for pike is herring that migrate from the open sea into the Gulf in September and October. So the Nils Master lures that are each individually hand-tuned in the Nils Master factory near Paijanne Lake to imitate the action of a wounded bait fish are very effective.
Let's try this one.
We spent the morning casting lures around various islands and rocky shoals and had numerous hookups, but we're faced with the same warm water conditions we had the day before at Paijanne Lake. While there are bait fish in the area, most of the larger pike are still holding in deep water. These shallow, rocky areas are known to hold very large fish, but it looks like we're just a little bit early for the big bite. But that's okay, as it gives me a good excuse to come back.
Strong, young.
Andre and Andre have had a good day as well, catching many fish and keeping a couple for dinner. It's really not unusual to see Russians fishing Finnish waters. For centuries, Finland has been a favorite destination for Russian fishermen. Even Russian Tsars fished Finland on a regular basis. And in the nearby coastal town of Kotka, we can visit the Tsar's summer fishing lodge. This episode of Angler West TV is brought to you in part by the Boomerang Tool Company, Qualicum River's Winter Harbor Resort, Salmon Trout and Steelheader, and Nils Master Lures. In the summer of 1880, Tsar Alexander III of Russia, who was also the Grand Duke of Finland, visited Langanoski Rapids on the Kumi River near the town of Kotka, which flows out of Paijanne Lake into the Gulf of Finland just a short distance downstream from the rapids. Alexander witnessed tremendous salmon fishing that summer, and he liked it so much that he decided to build himself a fishing lodge on the rapids. Today, Langanoski Imperial Fishing Lodge is preserved as a museum, of which guided tours are available.
This lodge was originally built in 1889 to the Russian Emperor Alexander III and his consort, who was originally a Danish princess named Dagmar.
In other words, the Tsar took his girlfriend to Finland on a fishing trip and ended up building a summer home, which he intentionally designed to be very simple, a place where he and his family and friends could rough it during the summer salmon run. A two-story complete with a fireplace, den, full kitchen, including an emblem waffle maker, and fine pots and pans for cooking fish.
This was used to cook salmon.
Also, a full bath, and upstairs, a kid's bedroom, guest quarters, and a master bedroom with separate beds. And a royal view from the front porch where Alexander must have sat and contemplated the many problems facing the world leaders of the day.
In this flag, those three crowns are the symbols of that the emperor was the emperor of Russia, then Grand Duke of Finland, and the ruler of Poland.
Despite his powerful position in the world, his wife-to-be forced Alexander outside to smoke his cigars, which he would often do while inspecting the salmon harvest with nets and traps on this rock just outside of the lodge. Which I'm guessing suited him just fine, as Alexander loved this river and truly enjoyed sport fishing with a rod and reel, especially from his favorite rock just downstream.
This is the stone where Alexander was angling. And when he came to inspect the building of his fishing lodge, he ordered his adjutant to achieve the timber and necessary tools, and he built himself the ladders to that stone.
Where is this ladder gone? There is no wood anymore.
No. I think somebody has taken it.
Imagine, we're here in Finland, former Russian territory, doing the American show, and who is connecting people? It's not president, it's the fish and the normal people that talk to each other and make friendship. Let's fish together.
The idea that sport fishing brings people of the world together as friends is a common theme, I think, around most places in the world, and most definitely in Russia. After our journey in Finland, we ended up in St. Petersburg, where Andre wanted to introduce me to a friend of his who was an upper-level government official whose office is in Mariinsky Palace, originally built by Tsar Nicholas as a gift to his daughter. After an extended tour of the beautiful building, which is typical for St. Petersburg, Mr. Vladimir Barkanov, who is an avid sport fisherman, took us to the Grand Meeting Hall where he wanted to send a message to American fishermen.
Hall for the state representative of the city of St. Petersburg, and all laws are adopted here. No.
Который живет и укрепляет, конечно, прежде всего эмоциональные дружественные связи, дружественное настроение по отношению между людьми. Это очень здорово.
And talking to the North Americans and other people in the world, I want to say again that the sport fishing is such a peaceful sport that connect people and make the relationship easy.
While it might be interesting to search for the origins of sport fishing, what's probably more important is that we establish and maintain the social and environmental prerequisites that make the concept of sport fishing possible.
В отрезвителях забита, в тюрьмах не пройти. Приезжайте, Дагестан и Афган, хоть не по пути.
Thanks for watching today's episode of Angler West TV. You know, it's only with the sponsor support that the show is made possible, so please thank them when you can. Now get out there and do some great fishing.